Who's the audience for the speeches that you've been giving on this trip? Is it members of the administration, Americans broadly? Who are you hoping to convey that message to?
The latter. I think first of all, I believe in leverage. We're, as a country, going into renewal of the USMCA, as you call it, CUSMA, as we call it. And one of the greatest leverage points we have as Canadians is the goodwill of Americans. Poll after poll shows Americans like Canadians. They also understand that doing business with us is good for them. So I wanted to accentuate that leverage. I wanted to bring some vivid illustrations of how life could be more affordable for Americans if we had a tariff-free pact between our two countries. And I think when you have Americans on side, the politicians will soon follow.
So your audience is Americans generally, but I imagine you want to convey this to the President of the United States, who's been pushing for tariffs not just with Canada, but countries around the world. Do you think that that message can be resonant with him based on what you know of how he approaches trade?
Yes, because what the President really wants is to repatriate production and jobs to America. And I understand his argument that American jobs have been outsourced to places like China. There are literally cases of American factories closing so that Chinese factories can open. That doesn't happen with Canada. Our role in the American economy is to supply the goods for production. 70% of what we sell you is not for final consumption, but it goes into your production supply chain. So, give you an example. We sell about $100 billion of oil at huge price discounts, by the way. $100 billion, which you turn into $350 billion of final sales. So that means that the refinery worker in Baytown, Texas, is taking heavy crude from Canada and converting it into asphalt and jet fuel and other things like that, earning six-figure jobs. These are like the blue-collar, hardworking American people who the President wants to have bigger paychecks. Well, buying more Canadian goods will allow that. Buying more Canadian lumber will allow your youth to afford homes and your carpenters to swing more hammers. Buying more Canadian aluminum will allow your automakers to produce more F-Series Ford pickup trucks at lower prices to your consumers. So if the President's objective is more American-based production, importing the materials for that production from a reliable neighbor at good prices is part of that plan.
I want to have you draw a contrast between your view of Canada and the world and the Prime Minister's view of Canada and the world vis-a-vis the United States. So Prime Minister Carney went to Davos, delivered this speech, talked about a rupture, really an irreparable rupture, that Canada needed to move on because things had changed. Your outlook is markedly different from that. Spell that out for me.
So my outlook is that the United States is and American capitalism is the greatest economic force the world has ever seen. That's not my opinion. That's not an ideological point of view. That's just a mathematical fact. U.S. GDP far outstrips any other competitor. You have the biggest military the world has ever seen, and you're right next door. We sell twice as much to America as to the rest of the world combined. We sell 20 times more to America than we sell to China. Our interests are intertwined with the United States of America. We have to get this relationship back on track, and I believe that we can, because first and foremost, all of our interests on security, affordability, and economic growth are broadly aligned. Our peoples like each other. Our geography, as Kennedy said, our geography made us neighbors, history made us friends, economics made us partners, necessity made us allies. Those whom nature hath joined together, let no man put asunder. I believe that actually captures it. In simple terms, you can't hire a realtor and move your country away, and nor would we want to. I wouldn't want any other neighbor, and frankly, I don't think the Americans would rather have another neighbor than Canada. So let's get past the politics, fix the relationship, and let our countries go forward successfully.
So much of the rhetoric on the campaign trail from the Liberals was Mark Carney can confidently have these negotiations with President Trump. There wasn't a whole lot of that from you. So for those wondering what your tack would be compared to his, how would you approach those trade negotiations differently? What could you tell us just about the way that you would try to broker a deal with the U.S. in this moment?
Leverage. That's the key word. And we have a lot of leverage that we perhaps we don't realize what we have. We're America's second biggest customer. We are the #1 destination for exports from about 30 different states. We have in this, like, look what's happening right now. Oil prices are up 60%. Americans are paying $5 a gallon in some parts of the country. We are the single biggest seller of oil to the United States of America. We sell 10 times more oil than your next biggest supplier, Mexico. And we have the ability to produce an extra 2 million barrels, which would be about 10% of your daily consumption, 2 million barrels a day. We can actually supply you with affordable energy. If you're that American guy who's at the pump today and you're overpaying, Canada could be part of the solution to that. And then you've got minerals. We've got 10 of the NATO-defined defense minerals that are necessary for modern warfare, whether it's cobalt for the alloys that go into jet engines, or it's germanium for night vision technology, or we've got aluminum, which you need for armored vehicles and aircraft. The list goes on. We should build up a massive strategic reserve of that and avail it to those allies that sign on to us in free trade agreements. The Americans would obviously be on our side, I would presume, in a future conflict. And in that case, if we have built up a massive reserve of both energy and minerals, and we've signed on to an agreement that allows preferred access to that, then Americans would benefit. Now, to get that, what do we want in return? Tariff-free trade. We want the tariffs gone on our aluminum, steel, autos, lumber. So simply put, build up leverage using our strengths, use that leverage to get tariff-free trade.